Hi everybody and welcome to the channel. This is Jessica Taylor's Crime and Lyme. Well, I've been wanting to make this channel for so long. I did have a Lyme channel, but I got locked out of it and I only made a few videos. And one thing I've noticed with people who have Lyme is that they just don't make very many videos. And I totally understand why. Once you do become ill, it's so hard to keep up a schedule. And you really just live day to day, hour to hour. Whether you have Lyme or not, it could just be a chronic illness of any kind. There's just very little consistency in life. And that's just a reality. But as a victim, or survivor of violent crime, I really find the two things very interrelated. And so, some days I may talk about violent crime and surviving violent crime, and then also talking about surviving Lyme and living with it day to day and having your body go just totally haywire and really feeling like, a victim, honestly. You feel like that little critter, the Borrelia burgdorferi is a predator. It is. It's a stealth predator. So, there are so many similar aspects, but I also wanted to address some of the things that are going on too in our world and how those of us with Lyme disease and also surviving, and you may be a violent crime survivor. You may have had a lot of trauma. I don't think any of us come into this world without it. So, if you have been through quite a bit of trauma, this channel may be for you. And I'm just not so sure that doesn't make us more susceptible for chronic illness. I do think trauma has a devastating effect on the immune system, but that's just me. There may have been medical proof. I think there is some medical documentation about that. So one of the main motivations in making this channel is that I don't want you to feel alone. When I first got extraordinarily ill with Lyme, there was a celebrity. She was on a Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and Yolanda. And I have to tell you that every single day when she was going through all those treatments, I would look it up every day to find out what she was doing. And then I finally had to just wash my hands of it because I don't have the money for all of that. For blood transfusions, bone marrow transfusions, hyperbaric chambers, cryotherapy, going to Dr. Klinghardt. And I think those are all wonderful, wonderful ways of treating it. And, yes, I would have loved to be able to go to see Dr. Klinghardt. I would love to be able to do all of those things she was doing. And then I finally had to let it go because I don't have the funds for that. And I had run up every credit card that I had. I went broke over it totally. Lost, I want to say I had to quit my job. I was teaching and I taught at-risk youth children, and a lot of the children had no family, and my heart just broke. And I did not want to quit that job, but I didn't have a choice because I developed a major cardiac situation, complication. And so I had to let it go. And I'm just not so sure that God didn't want me out of that job because there were a lot of really strange undercurrents. I don't want to say they were evil, but they were really sinister. And it was not working out for me there anyway. although I loved it and I loved my kids there. But one thing I wanted to address in this video is that, you know, we're living in a world that almost every, I guess the preppers really have the, I can't think of the word right now, but they have the spotlight. They're in the spotlight. And, you know, having grown up out in the country, you know, the lifestyle that I had, of course, I got all the ticks, y'all. I really did. And I'm pretty sure I got this in high school, but then no, I did get it taking care of a tree where I live. So I think I was reinfected. You can be reinfected. I hear people say, no, you can't, but yes, you can. You can get it again, just like you can get the flu, anything else again. But, you know, as the preppers have the spotlight, and I grew up just living like that. Like, you know, we had a garden and a lake, and my dad hunted and fished, and so we were very self-sufficient. But almost everything, we're all just being bombarded with the worst news, just catastrophic news, every second of the day. And so many of us with chronic illness. It doesn't have to just be Lyme. If you think about it, you know, how much can we really do? I know that aside from ordering things and trying to have some things organized, everything is just out of my control. And I want you to know that if you can't have 3 to 6 years of food, or even a year's worth of food, don't beat yourself up over that. If you can get something like, you know, rice and beans, some seasoning, maybe some flour to make flatbread, a microgreen growing kit. What I'd like to do is show you the things that I do to keep self-sufficient as much as possible. I'm having a flare-up, pretty bad flare-up right now. So I know I look pasty. I know I look bad. You know, the stiff neck and all that stuff that's going on. But the main thing that I wanted to share with you about the prepping is that everybody is just disclosing that you've got to have a bug out bag. You've got to have a place to go. You've got to have a bunker. You've got to have a basement. You've got to have this. You've got to have that. You've got to have a medical kit. You've got to have all of these things. You've got to start canning. You've got to can and can and can. And, you know, guys, if y'all are sick, you know you can't do that. And that's just the reality. And, you know, yes, I do believe water filtration is important, especially if you have Lyme. You don't want all those chemicals in your system, because the older that I get, I was 43 when I got it. And I'm a lot older now. And so, excuse me. I've noticed that throughout the years, I cannot tolerate any chemicals. I mean, yes, there are times that I have to take medication because I'm in too much pain, and it just stresses my system out. I'm going to try and keep this video just a few minutes. I'm going to try and keep it short. But I don't want, you know, I don't want you to get too caught up and not being able to keep up with the preppers. I kind of got on board with that. And I feel like there's no way I'm going to be able to be like these huge channels. In fact, I left a comment on one, and I had mentioned that I was really it was kind of strange for me to see the advertisements that were coming on, and that were coming on, and before the videos, they were very depraved, and they really objectified women. And in fact, women were being slaughtered. It was a video game, and they were hanging, they were suspended from it. They were like in a torture chamber, and then they ended up getting slaughtered. And then some voice in the background sounded like a caveman, and he was just laughing about it. So, and then somebody commented that, I really don't care, that was because that's all I was watching and thinking about and talking about, which I'm, that's totally, it can be further from the truth. So, but the reason that I'm doing crime and Lyme is because I think there is a huge correlation between trauma and chronic illness. And that's just how I feel about it. I don't know if YouTube will take me down for talking about that. I think for me, it's made me more susceptible to illness. And maybe for you, that's been the same thing. Or maybe you've never had any trauma and you have Lyme, and you feel like a victim in many ways, because you become a victim in many ways to the system, to the medical system, and not just to the medical system, but to society, friends, family, supposed friends and family, the very people that once were a part of your life are now nowhere to be found. They think you're a hypochondriac, or you've got the Munchausen syndrome and all of that. So there are just so many striking similarities in my experience between having been a crime victim. I was followed home from the grocery store and kidnapped, carjacked, and abducted. And this was many years ago. And, he is doing time. And he got a lot of years. And, that was supposed to bring me a great sense of relief, and it did. But what they don't tell you is that when the parole hearings come up, you're really chained to that person for the rest of your life. And so regardless of where he is, there is a strange phenomenon that occurs between victim and offender. So that, on top of other things, it's kind of like having Lyme in many ways, because you have this stealth predator organism in your system that's a shapeshifter, and nothing can really penetrate that biofilm. I know that Japanese knotweed, that's what I've heard. I've read Healing Lyme, and I've tried to take it, but I've been very intolerant to the herbal protocol. And I went without sugar. I pretty much did mainly intermittent fasting, but you're really kind of at the mercy of the organism. And I do have, from what I understand from a microbiologist that's a friend of ours, they're making huge strides in being able to penetrate the biofilm. But in either way, you're kind of held prisoner, by both things. So by the illness itself. So what I really hope to do is to let you know that you're not alone, and kind of create a forum for people that are just struggling. It doesn't have to be just Lyme disease. It can be chronic illness. And I may title that video, chronic illness, crime, chronic illness, prepping, because we are just being bombarded, like I said, with just the worst case scenarios where we've got to have bug out bags and have a location to go and bug out, a basement for the nuclear fallout. And those of us with chronic illness that are just struggling to make it, to me, it's not an option, and sheltering in is what I prefer to do. And, I do think it is important to have some extra food. But I learned that for having extra things that I needed just by the very, I'm going to use SHTF. The SHTF came to me early in life with the crime and with the Lyme. My SHTF already happened. And so I keep things that I need around because of those things. I don't want to have to keep exposing myself to the craziness at the store, which is a whole nother topic I'd like to discuss. But just for example, in the situation that you are now, ask yourself, if I had to bug out, where would I go? Where would you go? You're going to be in gridlock in the traffic, and nobody discusses that. You're not going to find out anything in time, in my opinion. And you're going to have to leave your sanctuary. You know, you're going to have to leave your home. And I can understand in a weather event, like, you know, whatever weather event, I can understand, you know, having to kind of split for a while. You know, but for the most part, I think sheltering in is one of the better options. It's the only option for me. You know, I'd like to have a place out in the country, but I know good and well at times I forget that I have limitations, and I'm sure you do too. So I think it's really better for me, yes, stay informed to the best of your ability. You know, use your discernment on what sounds like propaganda. And I think the less of television is just the better, because, you know, it's just so obvious. It's just really obvious that so much of it is just propaganda, you know? And really, what is all this stuff going to do to improve your life? To me, it's doing nothing but really making life more unpleasant to live. And there's very little that we can do about it. Especially those of us who are ill. So, on my next video, I have so many ideas, but I just want to be someone who is reasonable, who, you know, if you feel like sharing your story in the comment section below, please feel free. I know that people will tell me from prior experience that if you just take this and you just take that, it'll cure your illness. And I have to say that I appreciate that, but you know, that's something that I guess, I don't want to say I don't want to hear about it anymore, but if, you know, because I've had it for so long and I've done so many different things and nothing's worked really. I have my good days and my bad. And I do want to stay solution oriented, but I also want to be a friend and let you know that you're not alone. And even though the world is as crazy as it is, I don't think anything that catastrophic is going to happen here. And even though it is financially, happening here, and the inflation and the gas and everything is just out of control. Do what you can and learn as much as you can when you can. But don't forget to keep your area of where you spend most of your time, make it a sanctuary if you can. Because your surroundings, in my opinion, when you're ill are so important. Your environment. And a lot of the preppers aren't And I guess their job is not to talk to us about decorating. Can you imagine some of those big prepper channels talking about buying new curtains? But I do think it's important not to forget to keep your surroundings looking really nice. If you can, you know, I mean, just to have maybe, I don't know, some fresh flowers every now and then, or a candle, and a pretty blanket, or, you know, just something like some nice, a candle to put by the tub, you know, just something simple like that, just to add a little touch, because you're worth it. You really are. You're worth it. And okay, well, I'm gonna end it here, and I will be back to discuss some other things. God bless you. You're not alone. This girl here cares about you, and I want you to know that I'm here. And God bless you. And I'll talk to you soon. Okay. Well, bye-bye.